"Get out of my lobby! This place isn't for people like you!" The words struck cold, like metal scraping against marble. There was no hesitation, no attempt to mask them. They landed like a hammer blow in the dazzling expanse of the Grand Skyline lobby, Seattle's most luxurious hotel. Lucas Harper, the 45-year-old manager, stood firm behind the reception desk like an arrogant judge. His half-lidded eyes brimmed with disdain, polished into habit through years of practice. Arms folded tightly across his chest, shoulders squared, he carried himself as though this space was his private domain, where he alone decided who could stay and who must go. No one mistook it for a slip of the tongue. It was not an accident. It was an unspoken policy, drilled into reflex and repeated like ritual. Naomi Carter, a woman in her 30s with neatly tied hair and a simple white blouse, stood still. She wore no glittering attire of the elite, no jewelry, no designer bag. For Lucas, that alone was enough to judge. She did not belong here. Behind him, staff watched. Tara Nguyen, 29, with a sharp face and a smirk tugging at her lips, tilted her head as if savoring the humiliation. Beside her, 26-year-old Cole Ramirez tried to hide his curiosity behind a computer screen, but the slight curl of his mouth betrayed his agreement with his superior's arrogance. The hum of conversation in the lobby died. A few guests froze mid-breath. Heads turned, eyes widened, then narrowed into stares laced with curiosity and the faint satisfaction of bystanders. Lucas did not lower his voice. He raised it instead, ensuring everyone could hear. Each word etched into the marble walls like a commandment. This place isn't for people like you. In that instant, time slowed for Naomi. The clack of heels across the floor, the clink of crystal glasses at the bar, the shuffle of hurried steps, all faded. Only the pounding of her heart and Lucas's icy glare remained. Silence thickened, but beneath Naomi's calm expression, a storm gathered. She drew a deep breath. When she lifted her gaze, her eyes were steady. On the outside, she looked like an ordinary woman, modest and unassuming. But within, every fiber of her being brimmed with silent authority, a power no one in the room had the clarity to recognize. Naomi spoke, her voice quiet, but carrying through the air. "Please check the system before speaking words like that." Simple, yet her composure made some guests uneasy. A middle-aged couple exchanged glances and shook their heads. A young woman covered her mouth, lifting her phone slightly, as if preparing to record this injustice. Lucas scoffed, a laugh devoid of joy, fueled only by dictatorial power. He leaned forward, his voice hoarse and mocking. "No need to check. I know my clientele, and clearly you are not one of them." Tara folded her arms, lips curling in satisfaction. Cole feigned focus on the screen, but the flick of his eye toward Naomi revealed complicity. Naomi felt the chandelier lights above bearing down on her like spotlights. Every stare from the lobby pierced her like invisible blades. Guests did not exactly agree with Lucas, but they stood idle. They chose silence. Silence, sometimes sharper than insults. Naomi tilted her head slightly, meeting Lucas's eyes. She did not blink, did not step back. Her composure made him restless, yet he kept his arms folded, his arrogant smirk unmoved. "Perhaps," Naomi said slowly, "you should think carefully before continuing." Her words were not loud, yet they echoed like prophecy. Lucas's teeth clenched, his voice cutting. "I have no reason to. Leave now, or I'll have security escort you out." The lobby held its breath. Some guests lifted their cameras toward Naomi. The air thickened, heavy as a storm on the verge of breaking. Naomi did not flinch. Instead, she calmly drew her phone from her coat pocket, eyes locked on Lucas. Her voice cut like steel, every word a blade stabbing his pride. "Mr. Harper, you have just made the biggest mistake of your career." A ripple of murmurs swept through the crowd. A young guest gasped, whispering, "What did she just say?" Tara sneered, convinced Naomi was only bluffing. Cole chuckled and shook his head. Lucas basked in his false victory, chin lifted, as though nothing could shake him. Yet somewhere in the room, unease crept in. Near the entrance, Sophie Lane, a well-known travel blogger, stepped in with her assistant Jake Patel. They exchanged a glance, recognizing the gravity of this moment. Sophie whispered, "Jake, start recording. This isn't just an incident." The small camera flicked on, its lens fixed on Naomi. Like a match to gunpowder, the spectacle Lucas orchestrated was about to ignite into a storm beyond control. In that moment, Naomi Carter knew one truth. She was no longer the timid girl once driven into the snow. Today, in this very place, she would show everyone that the woman they tried to humiliate for her simple appearance was in fact the very soul and ultimate authority of the Skyline hospitality empire. The sound of heels striking the marble floor echoed like a drumbeat, fueling the tension that saturated the grand lobby. Naomi Carter stood unmoving at the front desk. No frown, no trace of anger, only a calmness so unshakable it was unsettling. That very composure only provoked those before her to push harder. Lucas Harper leaned forward, his voice low, yet deliberately loud enough for all to hear. "Penthouse Suite, you must be mistaken. This is not a place for someone like you." The lobby stirred with gasps. A few guests covered their mouths. Several phones were raised. Injustice was being staged as a public spectacle. Naomi closed her eyes briefly, drew in a deep breath. She did not answer right away. Instead, she slipped a small leather wallet from her coat pocket, her movements slow and assured. From it, she withdrew a sleek black card engraved with the name Naomi Carter in silver, along with a simple yet refined ID. She placed them gently on the counter. "My name, reserved since last month." The crystal chandelier above caught the polished surface, casting a strange glimmer. But Lucas was unfazed. Instead, he smirked, holding the card as though it were some foreign artifact. "Naomi Carter." He dragged out the name with mocking arrogance. "Sorry, but I don't see that name on our VIP list." Tara Nguyen instantly laughed, her eyes sweeping Naomi's modest appearance as though it were proof enough. Cole Ramirez was more cautious, yet still eager. "Mr. Harper, allow me to double-check." He snatched the card from Lucas's hand, turning with theatrical flair. He opened the small integrated safe behind the desk, slid the card inside. Then click, the sound of the lock snapped sharp and final. Cole straightened, announcing loudly, "This is the hotel's fraud prevention protocol. The card will be held for verification." Whispers rippled through the lobby. Some guests frowned, others shook their heads. But Lucas nodded in satisfaction, as if watching a well-executed performance by his subordinate. Naomi's gaze locked onto Cole, sharp as a blade piercing through his arrogance. Her voice was low, but every word rang clear. "Cole Ramirez, you have just signed the death warrant of your own career. This is your final warning." Cole flinched. Then he forced a smirk, masking his unease with bravado. "Threatening me? You have no authority here." Tara glanced at Lucas, then lifted her radio, deliberately speaking loudly. "Security to the front desk. We have a guest requiring urgent ID verification." Her voice echoed across the lobby like an alarm bell. Guests murmured louder. Several cameras were raised higher. In the corner, Sophie Lane pressed a button, activating her live stream. Within minutes, Naomi's image, calm, unwavering, spread to hundreds, then thousands of screens. Jake Patel whispered into his earpiece, "Sophie, views are spiking. People are furious." Sophie nodded, eyes locked on Naomi. "Keep rolling. This isn't just about one person anymore." The revolving doors swung open. 4 uniformed security guards entered in formation, their shoes pounding the marble like the march of authority poised to strike. Lucas jerked his chin. "Miss Carter, I am giving you one last chance to leave peacefully." The lobby went silent. Hearts pounded. Some guests whispered, "She'll walk away, won't she?" "No, look, she's not afraid at all." Naomi stood tall, chin lifted. No grimace, no retreat. Surrounded by security, she allowed a faint, icy smile to touch her lips, sharp as a blade. "You will regret this. And do not ever say I did not warn you." Her voice was not loud, yet its weight froze the air solid. Tara rolled her eyes, concealing her unease behind a smirk. Cole licked his lips, unease rising though he tried to appear calm. Lucas, still convinced of his dominance, flicked his hand at the guards. "Remove her." But before they could lay a hand on her, Naomi spoke again, slow, deliberate, and captured perfectly by Sophie's microphone. "Lucas Harper, today you will lose more than a guest. You are about to lose everything." A ringtone broke the silence. Naomi lifted her phone, the screen glowing in her hand. No one knew whom she had called, but the atmosphere shifted instantly. Guests began to question, who exactly was this unassuming woman? On the line, a female voice answered, "Yes, Miss Carter. This is Lena." Naomi tilted her head slightly, eyes never leaving Lucas. "Lena, activate the special protocol. Pull all security camera footage from this hotel and archive it immediately. Prepare the legal team. We will need them today." The lobby shuddered. Some guests gasped. Others stared wide-eyed. Lucas faltered, his arrogance stalling for the first time. Tara and Cole exchanged uneasy glances. Naomi closed the phone, standing firm, her cold smile unbroken. "Now let us see who truly holds power in this place." The air thickened, suffocating. On one side stood the hotel's management, convinced they controlled the stage. On the other stood a woman who looked ordinary, yet whose every word overturned the balance. And outside, through the live stream, thousands of eyes bore witness to every second. They saw not a misunderstanding, but arrogance colliding with real power concealed beneath simplicity. The storm had only just begun. A small red light blinked on Sophie Lane's handheld camera. With a single tap on the screen, the moment inside the Grand Skyline lobby was broadcast live. "Jake, pan the angle to her." "Get the wide shot," Sophie whispered tensely. Jake Patel nodded, lifting the camera high. The lens swept from the glittering chandeliers above, down to the gleaming marble floor, and settled on Naomi Carter, standing tall amid the circle of security guards. A modest woman, yet her eyes blazed, her shoulders squared, her presence eclipsing the uniforms that surrounded her. Within seconds, the viewer count on Sophie's screen surged. 500, 2,000, 10,000, rising like a tide. Comments poured in. "My God, what kind of hotel shows such blatant discrimination? She's so calm, I'd break down if it were me. Share this. Don't let it get buried." Sophie inhaled deeply, focused on Naomi, and spoke into the mic. "We are live at the Grand Skyline Hotel in Seattle. Look closely. This is no small misunderstanding. This is a public humiliation, right here in the Grand Lobby, in front of dozens of witnesses." Jake swung the camera toward Lucas Harper, arms crossed behind the desk, face drenched in arrogance. Beside him, Tara Nguyen smiled triumphantly, while Cole Ramirez leaned toward the safe where Naomi's black card had just been locked away. "This is the manager, Lucas Harper," Sophie continued, her voice trembling with outrage. "He just called security to throw out a guest without even verifying. And look, her card has been confiscated, locked in a safe, as if it were some fabricated piece of fraud." The camera zoomed in on the safe, cold steel gleaming under the lights, a shameless symbol of injustice. Naomi said nothing. She let Sophie and Jake do their work. She knew the truth did not need to scream. It only needed light to be revealed. And now, that light was tens of thousands of online viewers. A middle-aged man nearby frowned, muttering, "Mr. Harper, maybe you should stop. This could ruin the hotel's reputation." Lucas waved him off, voice clipped. "I know exactly what I'm doing. Anyone honest has nothing to fear." Those words landed squarely in Jake's microphone. The online community erupted. Hear that? They think power gives them the right to humiliate anyone. Boycott Grand Skyline. Tag the media now. Naomi's calm eyes locked on Lucas. But deep within, old memories stirred. Winter nights long ago when she was shivering, begging for shelter, only to be turned away because of her appearance. Today, the scene repeated. But this time she was not alone. The glow of cameras, the watch of thousands, had turned private pain into a fire shared by the community. Naomi allowed a faint smile, then turned directly to the lens, her gaze unwavering. "What you see here is only the surface of something far deeper. But I promise, the truth will soon come to light." Her words ignited the crowd. Views climbed higher. 30,000, 50,000 angry emojis flooded the feed. Cole, realizing the camera was on him, tried to justify himself. "We're just following protocol. This is how we protect the hotel and its true VIP guests." He raised his voice, aiming for the lens, but his haughty tone only fanned the flames. Online comments exploded. "True VIP? So only those dressed in luxury qualify. Disgusting attitude. This has to hit the news." Lucas nodded approvingly at his subordinate. He turned back to Naomi, his voice ringing like a gavel. "Face reality, Miss Carter. This place is not for you. This is a hotel for the elite, not for people like you." A wave of fury swept the lobby. Some guests shook their heads in disbelief. A woman shielded her young son's face, unwilling for him to witness such disgrace. Sophie gritted her teeth, addressing the camera. "Did you hear that? This isn't just discrimination, this is raw insult. Share it now." On screen, messages rolled by. "Unbelievable. So brave. Share everywhere." Naomi stood motionless, like stone in the storm. But inside, she knew. This storm was no longer hers alone. It had spread beyond the gilded walls of the Grand Skyline. Her gaze swept the crowd. Some guests now looked at her with newfound respect. They saw not weakness, but unshakable strength in silence. Naomi gave Sophie a slight nod, as if passing her the torch to lead public opinion. Then she faced Lucas again, her voice slow yet firm. "Mr. Harper, every word you speak is being heard by tens of thousands. Be certain you can live with the consequences." Silence pressed in for a few seconds. Lucas paled slightly, but quickly masked it with arrogance. He did not know that outside, a social firestorm was already forming, unstoppable. Meanwhile, Sophie whispered to Jake, "We've crossed 80,000 views. Comments are non-stop. This will be breaking news within minutes." Jake glanced at Naomi, eyes bright. "She's not just anyone, Sophie. She's hiding something big." Sophie pressed her lips together, nodding. Her instinct screamed. Yes, they were witnessing a truth about to be revealed. In the distance, guests who had remained silent began to murmur, "Who is she really? How can she challenge management like that? Maybe she's far more important than we think." The rumors spread through the lobby like fire on dry grass. Naomi heard it all, but only smiled faintly. In her heart, the flame of old humiliation now burned as strength. She knew the moment of revelation was near. And when it came, not just Lucas, Tara, or Cole, but the entire system behind them would tremble. The live stream storm swelled. Viewers topped 100,000. Online news outlets began reposting. Hashtags. Grand Skyline flooded the feed. Naomi Carter, the woman dismissed for her plain appearance, had become the epicenter of a media earthquake. And this earthquake was only the beginning. The noise of the hotel lobby seemed to vanish from Naomi's ears. The gasping breaths of guests, the clatter of keyboards, even the angry shouts flooding in from the live stream, all blurred away. She stood still, yet her mind was pulled back to another time, another place. 16 years earlier, a snowbound winter night in the suburbs of Atlanta. The blizzard howled through every crack of the doors. Naomi, then just a 22-year-old fresh graduate in a threadbare coat, trembled on a road covered in ice. Her beat-up car had died in the middle of the night, leaving her stranded in the cold, alone. Thin shoes offered no warmth. Her hands were stiff and numb. Still, Naomi pushed on toward the faint yellow glow of a roadside inn. Every step was like knives against her skin, but she believed that if she could just make it inside, she would find a little warmth. The glass door opened with a jingle of the bell. Naomi stumbled in, panting, her face flushed red from the cold. At the reception desk, a man in his 40s sat with an indifferent expression. "Excuse me." Naomi's voice trembled. "I need a room for tonight. Just one night." The man looked her up and down, smirked, and said, "We don't take guests like you." Naomi froze. "Like me?" He didn't bother to explain, simply turned his face aside and threw the words like stones into her heart. "We want to keep a classy image. You understand?" Naomi pleaded, her voice breaking. "I have cash, just a small room. My car broke down outside. I just need to get through the night." But he turned back to his computer, typing as if she didn't exist. Outside, snow kept falling. Naomi was forced to return to her broken car, curl up inside, clutching her thin coat tight. Her breath fogged into white smoke as her eyes blurred with tears. She cried the whole night, not only from the cold, but from the humiliation of being dismissed, rejected, judged unworthy of a place called luxury. That night carved a scar deep within her. But in that very despair, a flame was lit. Naomi swore that if one day she ever had power, she would build a hotel system where no one would be turned away, no one judged for their clothes, their skin, or their wallet. She swore no one else would ever be left shivering in a broken car through a blizzard, as she once had. The memory dissolved, but the pain was still alive, vivid as if it had just happened. Now in front of her, Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, Cole Ramirez were replaying the nightmare. They didn't realize they had reopened an old wound, and in doing so, awakened the most dangerous strength within her. Naomi looked up at the giant chandelier above. The light reflected in her eyes, making them shimmer with resolve. She drew a deep breath, her body calm, but every nerve alive with determination. Never again. No one else will ever be humiliated like this again. In the corner, Sophie and Jake kept streaming alive. Online whispers surged. "I know her! She's not just anyone. Yes, I recognize her. That's Naomi Carter, CEO of Skyline Hospitality. Sophie gasped, swinging the camera toward Naomi, eyes wide. Jake nearly shouted, "Oh my God, they're humiliating the actual owner of this hotel." The screen exploded with messages. "Unbelievable! Fire them all now! We're watching history unfold." Guests whispered among themselves, their stares shifting from doubt to shock. Lucas, Tara, and Cole were still oblivious, but Naomi felt the truth spreading through every corner. She turned to Lucas, her voice slow and sharp as a blade cutting into the air. "Mr. Harper, what you call a classy image is nothing more than a mask for arrogance and prejudice. I once lived that humiliation, and today I will make sure no one else lives it again." Lucas scoffed, unaware of the sword dangling over him. "You think pretty words change anything? This is my hotel." Naomi's lips curved, but it was not the smile of the powerless. It was the smile of someone holding real authority. "You're wrong. This is my hotel." The words rang out, not loud, but enough to make the lobby erupt in gasps and whispers. Some guests gaped, others clutched their heads in disbelief. Sophie turned the camera directly on Naomi's face, her voice trembling. "You just heard it." She confirmed it herself. Naomi Carter, the owner of Skyline, has been humiliated in her own hotel. The live stream view count surged past 200,000. Hundreds of thousands of comments flooded in. The storm Naomi had vowed to ignite since that snowy night had finally arrived. Naomi drew a long breath. In this moment, she was no longer the abandoned girl in a broken car, no longer the victim of contempt. She was the embodiment of justice, the strength of memory transformed into action. With proud eyes, she stared directly at the man who had insulted her. And somewhere in the rising waves of public outrage, a new chapter of Skyline hospitality was beginning. The air in the grand Skyline lobby was thick with tension. Naomi's words, "This is my hotel," still echoed, pounding against every marble column and burning into every stunned gaze. Lucas Harper froze for a moment, then burst into laughter. The sound was low, dry, heavy with defiance. "Your hotel? Ha! Don't make people laugh. If it were true, why does no one here know? We are the ones who run this place. Not a woman who walked in wearing worn clothes." Tara Nguyen joined in with a mocking smile, her voice dragging with scorn. How pathetic. Still clinging to delusions. Cole Ramirez shook his head, his tone flat but arrogant. "You should stop, Miss Carter. The more you talk, the more ridiculous you make yourself." Naomi stood firm, her eyes blazing and unblinking. She didn't need to shout, didn't need to argue. She only had to wait for the truth to shatter the silence. And then a voice rang out, trembling yet clear. "No, she's telling the truth." All eyes turned toward the reception desk. A young woman stepped forward, her face youthful, her eyes revealing inner conflict. It was Ava Thompson, 23 years old, a new employee who had been working for less than 6 months. The entire lobby froze. Lucas scowled, his voice sharp. "Ava, what do you think you're doing?" Ava swallowed hard, drawing a deep breath for courage. Her hand trembled slightly, but her gaze was steadier than ever. "Miss Carter did book the penthouse suite. I was the one who confirmed her reservation this morning. The record is in the system." Murmurs erupted. Some guests looked at each other, whispering, "She just said Naomi really did book it." Lucas snarled, his face flushing red. "Shut your mouth. Do you know what you're saying? Are you trying to destroy your own career?" For the first time, Ava raised her chin high to face her superior. "If speaking the truth costs me my job, so be it." But I will not stand by and watch a guest be humiliated like this, especially when that guest is the true owner of this place. The room seemed to explode. Sophie tightened her grip on the camera, whispering, "My God, this is history. An employee has chosen to stand on the side of truth." Jake nearly shouted into the lens, "Do you see this? A young woman willing to defy her bosses to defend a guest. This is the real spirit of service." Comments flooded the live stream. Respect for Ava. This is what a hotel employee should be. She may lose her job, but she'll be remembered as a hero. Lucas slammed his hand on the counter, the sound cracking through the lobby. "Ava, if you open your mouth one more time, I will fire you on the spot. Right here, right now." Ava flinched, but then her fear melted away, replaced by a force rising from deep within. She turned to Naomi, her eyes shimmering as if she had found her anchor. And in Naomi's calm, proud gaze, she found her courage. Ava turned back, her voice trembling yet firm. "If I am fired for defending the truth, I accept it, but I will never stay silent in the face of injustice." A few guests began to clap. A moment later, more joined in, the applause spreading until it filled the lobby, drowning out Lucas's growls. Tara stepped forward, her eyes blazing, chin lifted in challenge. "Who do you think you are? A lowly employee, daring to defy your superiors and disgrace this hotel." Ava recoiled half a step, but quickly steadied herself. "I am not disgracing the hotel. I am saving it from the rot that you have planted." Her words cut the air, leaving the lobby in stunned silence. Naomi smiled faintly, pride shining in her eyes. At last, in the darkness of arrogance and prejudice, there was light. She took a step toward Ava, gently resting a hand on the young woman's shoulder, her voice warm yet resonant. "You are living proof of what I believe. No matter how rotten a system becomes, there will always be people who hold on to dignity. Ava, today, you are not alone." Ava bit her lip, tears brimming, and nodded firmly. Lucas's patience snapped. "Enough! Security, escort both of them out. Now!" The guards hesitated. They looked at Naomi, then at Ava, then glanced around at the room. Guests' eyes bore into them, full of fury. Many already had their phones raised, ready to record every move. One guard shook his head slightly and stepped back. Clearly they didn't want to become tools in a scandal already erupting across social media. Lucas's face went pale, yet he kept shouting, "Have you all forgotten who holds authority here?" Naomi finally spoke, her voice low but thundering. "True authority is not in shouts, Lucas. It lies in trust and respect. And that is what you have lost." The entire lobby fell silent. Her words sliced through the last vestige of Lucas Harper's arrogance. Sophie swung the camera to Ava, her voice choked. "You are witnessing something extraordinary. A young employee has defied her superiors to defend justice. This is the spirit we all need." Online comments erupted. "Incredible, Ava. You are not alone. The whole world is watching you. Protect her!" Naomi turned back to Ava, her gaze stern yet full of warmth. "You have just proven one thing. Courage can rise even in the smallest hearts. And from today, that courage will be the flame that leads the way." Ava nodded, tears spilling as a radiant smile broke through. Lucas clenched his fists, his face crimson with rage. Tara ground her teeth. Cole bit his lip. The three of them knew the balance had shifted. Naomi was no longer standing alone. She had an ally, and when a flame is lit, it spreads. In that moment, the Grand Skyline lobby was no longer a place of arrogance and false authority. It had become a battlefield of justice, where a young employee dared to step into the light and change everything. The scattered applause for Ava Thompson still echoed through the grand skyline lobby. Those claps were small but powerful, like sparks catching on dry wood. Naomi Carter knew it was time to fan the flame. She slowly drew her phone from her pocket. The motion was calm, but every gesture carried such weight that all eyes locked on her. The guests held their breath. Sophie Lane's camera tracked her every move, and hundreds of thousands of viewers watched intently from afar. Naomi dialed. After just one ring, a familiar female voice answered, steady yet commanding. "Yes, Miss Carter, this is Lena." Naomi lifted her chin, fixing her gaze on Lucas Harper, his face flushed with anger, though he tried to wear arrogance like armor. Her voice rang clear, every word deliberate. "Lena, activate special protocol. I want every security camera recording in this hotel backed up and sealed immediately. Lock the system so no one can alter anything. At the same time, alert the legal team to prepare full documentation. We will need it today." Murmurs erupted. Guests gaped at one another. Many raised their phones to record, realizing they were witnessing a turning point. Lena's reply cut through the air, cold and sharp as steel. "Understood, Mom. I'll initiate immediately." Lucas furrowed his brows, faltering for a brief second. His eyes flickered with confusion, but he quickly tried to regain his arrogance, his voice defiant. "Do you think one phone call will scare me? This is the hotel I run. You have no authority to give orders here." Naomi tilted her head slightly, her lips curling into a faint, icy smile. "Authority?" she emphasized. "You just dismissed the very owner of this building, and right now, your power is crumbling piece by piece." Tara Nguyen glanced at Lucas, unease rising inside her. She stepped back half a pace, but tried to hold firm. This is just a performance. Who would believe someone so plainly dressed could own the entire skyline chain? Cole Ramirez cut in, his voice loud but cracking under pressure. "That's right. She's pretending. Don't be fooled." But at that very moment, the desk phone shrilled loudly. Everyone startled. Cole snatched it up, his face draining of color as the urgent voice on the line barked. "Camera access is locked. Someone just used the highest level owner clearance. We can't override it." Cole froze, his hand trembling. He looked at Lucas, his face pale. "Mr. Harper, she truly has owner-level access." The lobby erupted in whispers. Guests gasped aloud. "My God, she really is the one." Sophie zoomed in on Naomi, her voice trembling with excitement. "Do you see this? Naomi Carter has just activated a special protocol that can only be done by the actual owner. The live stream view count skyrocketed. 300,000, 500,000 comments poured in like a flood. I have chills. They're finished. A real female CEO right before our eyes." Lucas staggered, gripping the reception counter as though needing something to hold him up. The arrogance etched on his face cracked, revealing raw panic. He stammered, No, this is fake." But then his phone buzzed violently. He pulled it out and stared at the screen. The words in red glared back. "System access revoked. Owner override active." His hand went limp, nearly dropping the device. Tara and Cole's phones vibrated with the same message, their faces drained of all color. The truth was undeniable now. Their power had been cut instantly. Naomi stepped forward, her voice booming like the toll of a judgment bell. "Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, Cole Ramirez. You thought you could humiliate, degrade anyone based on their clothes, their skin, their appearance. But at this moment, Your arrogance ends." Her eyes swept across the lobby and paused on Ava Thompson. Naomi gave her a gentle nod. Ava felt her heart ignite. She knew she had risked her career, but she had chosen the right side. In the corner, Sophie clutched Jake's hand and whispered, "This is no longer just a case of discrimination. This is a historic unmasking." Jake nodded hard, his eyes locked on the lens. The world has just seen true power revealed. Naomi raised her phone again, speaking loudly enough for the whole room to hear. "Lena, send a message to the entire Skyline system. Let every employee know. From this moment, all evidence at Grand Skyline is being preserved, and any action taken against the truth will be dealt with immediately." Lena's reply was crisp, precise. "Yes, ma'am. Consider it done." The atmosphere in the lobby transformed. From Lucas's arrogance, Tara's defiance, Cole's swagger, the air now brimmed with awe and respect for Naomi. Guests who had been silent began to clap. A few even moved closer to Naomi and Ava, forming a protective circle around them. Lucas opened his mouth, his voice hoarse and trembling. You can't not over such a small incident," Naomi cut him off, her gaze sharp as a blade. "A small incident? You just replayed the very nightmare I once endured. But today, it ends. And this truth will never be buried again." Applause thundered, louder, rolling like waves. The live stream captured every second. Millions were about to witness the final unmasking. Naomi Carter, the simple woman once dismissed at the door, had just become the embodiment of authority, and those who mocked her now trembled at their own downfall. The applause for Ava Thompson had not yet faded, but the atmosphere inside the Grand Skyline lobby had completely transformed. Just minutes earlier, Lucas Harper and his subordinates still believed they held absolute power. But now the truth was like an invisible blade, cutting away every shred of arrogance piece by piece. Jake Patel gripped the camera tightly. He swept the lens across the space, then stopped at the cold steel safe under the reception desk. His eyes lit up, as if he had just discovered the missing piece to complete the puzzle. "Sophie," Jake whispered urgently, "the card, it's still in the safe. If that card is real," Sophie understood instantly. She nodded and tightened her grip on the microphone. "Jake, zoom in. Show everyone the undeniable evidence." The lens tightened, the frame trembling slightly with Jake's breath. He crouched low, adjusting the angle so the crystal chandelier's light reflected directly onto the surface of the safe. Then a glint flashed, illuminating the card inside, its engraved letters catching the light. A single word etched deeply in gleaming silver. "Owner." Gasps broke out across the lobby. Some guests covered their mouths, eyes wide in shock. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Oh my God, is it real? Her card, it clearly says, owner. We are witnessing the owner of this hotel being humiliated in her own lobby." Jake nearly shouted, his voice echoing through the live stream. "Do you all see this clearly? This is the highest VIP card, the owner's card. Naomi Carter is not just a guest. She is the CEO, the true owner of Skyline Hospitality." Sophie's phone screen flooded with comments. "Unbelievable. They just humiliated their own boss. It's over. Their careers are finished. This is historic. Share it now." The live stream soared past 1 million viewers in seconds. News spread across Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. The hashtag or Skyline scandal exploded, shooting to the top of trending charts. Naomi did not need to say another word. The truth had revealed itself. But she still took a step forward, her voice low, yet resounding like a tolling bell of judgment. Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, Cole Ramirez, Do you still dare deny it?" Lucas staggered, his face ashen, as if he had seen a ghost. He stammered, grasping for the last shreds of authority. This must be a mistake. Maybe a counterfeit card." But Cole interrupted, his voice shaking. "No, it's not fake. I saw it. The card really has Naomi Carter's name." I didn't check carefully. Tara's face drained of color, her bright red lipstick smearing as her lips trembled. She stumbled back, mouth open, but no words came. The arrogant masks shattered, leaving only raw fear. The guests erupted in outrage. A middle-aged man shouted, "You humiliated the actual owner of this hotel." Unforgivable. A young woman lifted her phone, live-streaming Lucas's face directly. "Look! This is the manager who insulted CEO Naomi Carter right here in her own lobby. Don't let him get away." Shouts, anger, applause, all swirled into a storm of chaos. Naomi lifted her head high, her stance unshakable. In her eyes there was no flash of uncontrolled rage, only the icy determination of someone holding destiny in her hands. She fixed her gaze on Lucas, her voice deliberate and heavy as stone. "You didn't just insult a guest. Worse, you insulted the very owner of the system you work for. This was no mistake. This was a choice to belittle, to discriminate, to humiliate." Lucas stumbled back a half step, his legs unsteady. He looked around desperately for support, but every eye had turned away. He stood alone. Naomi continued, her voice unyielding. "From this moment forward, the power you clung to is finished. Your system access revoked. Your positions erased. Your dignity buried by your own actions." Ava Thompson clenched her fists, her heart pounding. She knew this moment would be remembered forever. She stood tall at Naomi's side, her eyes shining. Sophie's voice cracked with emotion as she spoke into the camera. "You have just witnessed the ultimate unmasking. A woman who appeared ordinary, dismissed and humiliated, is in fact the CEO of the entire Skyline chain, and right here she has revealed the truth." Online, the comments roared. "This is justice! Naomi Carter! True power! This is history! I'm crying!" Lucas collapsed into a chair, his face vacant. Tara covered her face, sobbing. Cole stood frozen like a statue, eyes glued to the floor, too afraid to look up. And there stood Naomi Carter, once thrown out of a cheap roadside inn simply for looking poor, now standing proud in the grand hotel she had built, a living symbol of truth. Real power never needs to boast. It reveals itself at the right moment. An elderly guest raised his voice, loud and steady. "Miss Carter, we stand with you. Do what must be done. Don't let these people continue to disgrace Skyline's name." Voices of agreement spread across the lobby. Guests stepped closer, surrounding Naomi and Ava like a wall of protection. Naomi smiled, her eyes glistening yet firm. "Thank you. But today is not just about me. This is proof that no injustice, no matter how carefully concealed, can escape the light forever. And that light was the single word owner, seen by millions. One card, enough to shatter an empire of arrogance and rot. The Grand Skyline lobby was thick with chaos and emotion, whispers, the sound of phones recording, the relentless stream of the live stream. Yet when Naomi Carter stepped forward, all noise seemed to slow, giving way to the commanding presence radiating from the woman who looked simple but carried immense power. Her voice rose, steady and decisive. Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, Cole Ramirez. From this moment on, you are no longer employees of the Grand Skyline, nor are you part of Skyline Hospitality. The words struck like thunder. The air froze. Lucas's eyes bulged, his face flushed with a mixture of shock and rage. You cannot do this. I have managed this place for years. You cannot destroy my career over a small incident." Naomi did not flinch, her eyes blazing like fire trapped in ice. "You call this a small incident? Humiliating a guest in the middle of the lobby, locking their card in a safe, summoning security to throw them out? And that guest was the owner of this hotel. No, Lucas. This was not an incident. This was undeniable proof that you betrayed the very values this industry is built upon." Tara leapt up, her voice trembling, but still trying to defend herself. "Miss Carter, I was only following Mr. Harper's orders. I had no choice." Naomi turned her head, locking her gaze on Tara, her tone sharp as steel. "Tara, you had countless choices. The choice to treat people fairly, the choice to tell the truth. But you chose to mock, to ridicule, to join in. And now, the price you pay is your career." Tara broke down in tears, mascara smearing as she buried her face in her hands. Cole, pale and shaken, stepped forward half a pace, his voice cracking. "Miss Carter, I truly regret what I did. Please give me a chance to make it right. I didn't know who you were." Naomi shook her head, her gaze unwavering. "Cole Ramirez, respect for guests is not a privilege reserved for those with great titles. It is the basic principle of this profession. You didn't need to know who I was to treat me properly. And you failed." In the corner, Sophie Lane held her camera tightly on Naomi, her voice trembling but fierce. "You are witnessing a true CEO, one who stands up for fairness in her own hotel. This is not just dismissal. This is justice served to those who betrayed human dignity. The live stream exploded. Justice served. Naomi Carter, this is true leadership. I'm in tears. This is a moment I'll never forget." Naomi pulled out her phone again. Her voice rang clear and sharp. "Lena, revoke all system access for Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, and Cole Ramirez. Prepare termination files immediately." On the other end, Lena responded firmly. "Yes, ma'am. Revoking access now." Within seconds, Lucas's phone buzzed violently. He pulled it out, eyes wide with horror. "System access disabled." Tara checked her own phone, the same notification glaring back at her. Cole looked at his screen, sweat dripping down, his hands trembling. All three understood at once. The power they had clung to, from guest data access to staff control to financial approvals, was gone in an instant. Some guests broke into applause. Others shouted, "Justice! Justice!" The chant echoed through the lobby, swelling into a wave. Lucas cried out, his voice cracking with desperation. "You cannot do this to me! I have given my whole career to this hotel. You cannot ruin me over one moment of anger!" Immediately, a middle-aged woman in the lobby shouted back, "A moment of anger. You humiliated me when I came here, in simple clothes last year. I remember your face clearly. A young man stood up, and I was refused service at the bar because my clothes weren't appropriate. Do you remember that?" Voices of outrage erupted from all sides. Each accusation struck like a hammer against the crumbling wall of Lucas's arrogance. Naomi raised her hand for silence. When the room settled, her voice cut through, low but sharp. "Lucas Harper, Tara Nguyen, Cole Ramirez, you did not just insult me, you insulted countless guests. And today, here and now, justice is served. You are no longer a part of Skyline Hospitality." Every word reverberated against the marble walls, echoing like the final verdict in a courtroom. Lucas collapsed into a chair, his eyes glazed. Tara sobbed uncontrollably, mascara streaming down her cheeks. Cole bowed his head, his body trembling. Meanwhile, Naomi stood tall, the chandelier's light casting a radiant glow on her face. She did not shout. She did not rage. She simply stood there, a living symbol of truth and justice. Ava Thompson looked at Naomi, her eyes brimming with tears. She knew she had just witnessed not simply a firing, but a historic moment where arrogance was struck down by the very truth it had denied. Sophie's voice quivered into the microphone. "Everyone, we have just seen justice delivered in real time. This proves that truth will always speak louder than false power." Online, comments surged. Standing ovation for Naomi Carter. They lost everything because of arrogance. This is why I believe in fairness. Naomi took a deep breath, letting the silence settle one last time. Then she spoke, her voice filled with emotion, yet steady. Justice is not just a concept in law books. It is a choice made every day, to respect or to belittle, to protect or to trample. Today, Skyline Hospitality chooses justice. Applause erupted, thundering through the grand lobby. Some guests rose to their feet, lifting their phones to record Naomi, their eyes full of admiration. Lucas struggled to rise, his voice hoarse. You will regret this. You have destroyed my career." Naomi turned away, her voice cold as ice. "No, Lucas, you destroyed yourself." In that moment, no one doubted. Naomi Carter, once humiliated for her simple appearance, now stood as the supreme judge of the hotel, delivering judgment on those who thought this was their domain. And the public, both inside the lobby and beyond, had become a vast jury, bearing witness to the verdict. The applause following Naomi Carter's verdict still lingered in the air, but then, from the far end of the reception desk, a trembling yet resolute voice cut through the crowd. "Miss Carter, please let me speak." The entire lobby turned. It was Ava Thompson, her eyes bright though brimming with tears. She drew a deep breath, then stepped forward to stand face to face with Lucas Harper, the man who had just lost all power. "For months," Ava began, her voice shaky but growing steadier, "I have witnessed firsthand how Mr. Harper treated guests, especially those dressed simply or those with different skin colors. He called them unworthy. And Tara, Cole, they heard it, and they followed. The entire hall held its breath. Naomi gave a slight nod, her eyes encouraging. "Go on, Ava. The truth must be spoken." Ava pressed her lips together. Then her voice burst out. "He once ordered us. Those people don't bring profit. Find reasons to refuse them." I heard it. I saw it. And I am ashamed for having stayed silent for so long. Lucas's face drained of color, and he shouted, his voice cracking, "Lies! You are fabricating this. Do not slander me." But before he could say more, a middle-aged guest stepped forward, eyes blazing with fury. It was Monica Reed, her lips trembling with anger. Slander? Then explain why last year I was denied a room, while a white guest who came later was given that very same room. I remember your face clearly, Lucas Harper. A storm of voices erupted. A young man, Dylan Park, stood up sharply, his tone boiling with rage. I was refused service at the bar because my clothes didn't fit your so-called standard. The waiter repeated your exact words. You don't fit the image of Grand Skyline. And who was the manager? You. The lobby roared. Accusations followed one after another. The same happened to me. We were treated like second-class people just because of appearances. Lucas faltered, sweat pouring down his temples. He glanced around desperately, hoping for support from Tara or Cole. But Tara bowed her head, shoulders shaking, before breaking into sobs. It's true. I obeyed your orders. You threatened to fire me if I didn't. I am truly sorry." The hall fell into stunned silence. Tara, who had once been arrogant, even smug in Naomi's humiliation, now collapsed under the weight of confession. Cole lowered his head, his voice hoarse. I knew too. But I was afraid. I was wrong. Naomi closed her eyes briefly, as if to hold back a swell of emotion. When she opened them, they burned with light, her voice resounding. "You have just confessed. This rotten system was not only about personal failures, but habits, something ingrained. But today it ends." Applause thundered, rebounding off the marble walls. Naomi stepped forward, standing in the center of the circle of guests. She turned slowly, her eyes meeting each face. Ava's courage, Monica's outrage, Dylan's determination, the lingering fear etched on others who still remembered their scars. Everyone, Naomi's voice rang out. Skyline Hospitality was built to be a place where all are respected. No division between rich and poor, no division of skin color, no division of anything beyond our shared humanity. But today proves that ideal was betrayed. She paused, letting the weight of her words hang in the heavy silence. Then her voice rose, powerful as thunder. "I vow before you all from this moment forward, Skyline Hospitality will undergo a complete reform." The live stream exploded. Sophie's voice shook with awe. "Did you hear that? CIO Naomi Carter has just declared a full-scale reform of the entire corporation on the spot. This is not just termination. This is the beginning of a revolution in the hotel industry." Online comments flooded in. "Naomi Carter for president. This is the kind of leader I would follow for life. From humiliation to sweeping reform." "Unbelievable," Naomi pressed on, her voice deep and resolute. "I will immediately order a full audit of every Skyline property. Anyone involved in discriminatory behavior, cover-ups, or silent complicity will be exposed and dealt with. No one, from the lowest employee to the highest manager, will stand outside justice." The hall erupted in cheers. Some guests cried openly. Ava stood beside Naomi, her hands trembling with emotion, but her smile radiant. Naomi turned to the young woman, her voice warm but commanding. "And Ava Thompson, today you proved that courage can transform an entire system. Skyline needs people like you. You will no longer just be a front desk clerk. You will become the director of guest services of the Grand Skyline." The hall erupted with roars and applause. Ava stood frozen, tears spilling down her cheeks. She whispered softly, "Miss Carter, I am not worthy." Naomi smiled, placing a hand on Ava's shoulder. "You stood up when it mattered most, and that is worth more than any title." Lucas screamed one last time, his voice breaking with despair. "You will all regret this. You have just destroyed the reputation of the Grand Skyline." Naomi turned back, her gaze sharp as a blade. "No, Lucas. You destroyed it every word you spoke, every action you took. I am only returning it to its true values, respect and fairness." The entire lobby erupted into relentless applause. Guests raised their phones, capturing every moment. Online, the hashtag #NaomiCarterReforms began to spread like wildfire. In that moment, Naomi Carter was no longer just the CEO of a hotel chain. She became a banner of reform, a leader standing against injustice not only for herself, but for all who had ever been dismissed, belittled, or cast aside. And everyone present in the Grand Skyline lobby understood. They were witnessing the beginning of a true revolution. The applause from the revelation of truth had not yet faded when something unprecedented happened. Each guest in the lobby, as if awakened by the same heartbeat, began stepping toward Naomi Carter. They had not planned it, yet their actions moved in uncanny unison. They wanted to stand with her. An elderly woman with silver hair and luminous eyes filled with emotion, Evelyn Brooks, was the first to approach. She placed a trembling hand on Naomi's shoulder, her voice quivering. "Miss Carter, in all my decades of traveling the world, I have never seen a hotel owner stand among guests, endure humiliation, and turn it into a moment of justice. You did not just protect yourself, you protected all of us." Naomi bowed her head slightly, her eyes glistening. "Thank you, Evelyn. You and the guests here are the reason I built Skyline, so that every person would be respected." Then came Monica Reed, the woman once denied a room, her voice sharp with conviction. "Today I saw the truth. Fairness exists. You made me believe that the pain I carried was not in vain." Next, Dylan Park raised his fist. "You taught me that silence in the face of injustice is complicity. From now on, I will never be silent again." Other guests raised their voices together. "We stand with you. Skyline must change, and we will stand by your side." The scene transformed into a human wall. Dozens, then hundreds of guests moved forward, forming a circle of protection around Naomi and Ava Thompson at the center. Lucas Harper, along with Tara and Cole, was pushed back into the corner of the reception desk, with furious eyes drilling into them. The security team froze. They no longer listened to Lucas's orders. One even removed his earpiece, nodding to Naomi with respect in his eyes. "We stand with you." Sophie Lane's voice broke as she swept her camera across the scene. "Do you see this? This is no longer an isolated incident. This is the power of unity. A hotel once thought to be only a place of rest has turned into an arena of justice, where people refuse to bow." The live stream exploded. Comments flooded in. "I'm crying right now. This is history. Unity is power. This is proof. Naomi Carter, you're a hero." Naomi stood in the center of the circle, crystal light pouring down to illuminate her radiant face. She raised her voice, each word echoing. "Today, we have witnessed truth unveiled. But this is not the end. This is the beginning of reform." She drew a deep breath, her gaze sweeping the hall and fixing directly on Sophie's live stream camera. "I declare that Skyline Hospitality will undergo a complete restructuring. Every employee, from the highest manager to the newest recruit, will undergo training in fairness, equality, and respect. Every complaint will be handled transparently, and any act of discrimination, no matter how small, will be eradicated at the root." Cheers erupted like waves. Some guests wept openly. Ava stood beside Naomi, tears falling, yet her face glowing with pride. Naomi placed a hand on Ava's shoulder, her voice softening but carrying deep conviction. "And Ava Thompson, you are the symbol of the new Skyline. You proved that courage matters more than anything. From today, you will lead guest services at the Grand Skyline, making this place a testament to fairness." Ava trembled, stammering, "Miss Carter, I don't know what to say, except thank you. I will never betray this trust." Naomi smiled, her voice ringing with strength. "Don't thank me. Thank your own courage." Lucas Harper, now a shadow of himself, desperately tried to cling on. "Naomi, listen to me. This wasn't only my fault. I was following orders. Patrick Harris, the former regional director, instructed us to preserve the luxury image. I was only following orders." The hall erupted with angry shouts. "There is no excuse for discrimination. You chose silence. You chose to be complicit." Naomi raised her hand, silencing the noise, then fixed her fiery gaze on Lucas. "No matter who gave the orders, You chose to obey, and that choice will forever define your career. But your words remind me of something. This disease is not confined to this place. It runs deep throughout the system, and I swear I will root it out. She turned back to her phone, commanding Lena Ortiz. Lena, launch a full investigation of the entire executive board. If any director ever aided these discriminatory policies, bring them to light. No one is exempt. The live stream exploded again. The hashtag Rashwa Skyline Reform shot to the top of global trends. Comments poured in. Finally, a leader with courage. She's not just fixing a hotel, she's changing the world. History is happening before our eyes. Naomi drew in a deep breath, then delivered her final words, her voice carved like stone, etched into the hearts of all who listened. Yes, this is history, but it doesn't belong only to me. It belongs to all of us, to those who refuse to stay silent in the face of injustice. Skyline will no longer be a hollow symbol of luxury. From today, Skyline will be the symbol of fairness, dignity, and respect. The hall erupted into thunderous applause, cheers, and tears. The sounds blended into a symphony of belief. Sophie's voice trembled as she zoomed in on Naomi's face. Everyone we are witnessing, not just a CEO, but a true leader. Naomi Carter is not only transforming Skyline, she is transforming the industry. Naomi smiled, her eyes fixed on the future. Beside her, Ava stood firm. Monica and Dylan radiated pride, and Evelyn Brooks nodded with quiet satisfaction. Around them, a new community had formed, one of people who dared to stand for truth. In that moment, Naomi understood. The road ahead would be long and arduous. But now, she was no longer alone. An entire community, an entire world was ready to walk with her. She whispered softly, just for Ava to hear. This is only the beginning. As the final applause echoed through the grand Skyline lobby, it became clear that this was no longer just a story about a hotel or a group of arrogant employees. This was a story about us, about anyone who has ever been looked down upon, judged solely by appearance, forced to swallow humiliation without the chance to speak. Naomi Carter proved that true power does not lie in an expensive suit or a title hung proudly on the wall. It lies in unwavering resolve, in eyes that dare to stare injustice in the face and say, "Enough." The moment Naomi pulled out her phone and activated the special protocol was not just the act of a CEO defending her honor. It was a turning point, an awakening. Millions watched through screens. Hundreds witnessed it live in the lobby, and all realized that justice only exists when we have the courage to rise for it. And when Ava Thompson stepped forward, trembling but brave, she became proof that light can emerge from the most unexpected places. A young receptionist, seemingly anonymous, was able to shift the entire balance. Her courage spoke a simple truth. Anyone, no matter how small, can become the spark of change. Monica Reed, Dylan Park, Evelyn Brooks, voices once forgotten, rose together. They transformed a personal incident into a wave of community. In that moment, true strength was revealed. For when the truth is defended by many, it becomes an unbreakable wall. Naomi Carter did not stop at dismissing 3 arrogant individuals. She declared a full reform of Skyline hospitality. That vow was not only to her staff, but to all of us, to everyone who still believes the world can be more fair, more humane. And now, the story does not end in that hotel lobby. It continues to live in the heart of everyone who hears it. It poses a question to every viewer. If you witnessed injustice, what would you do? Would you stay silent, or would you be like Ava, stepping forward, standing firm, speaking the truth? If you believe that respect is not a privilege, but a basic right of every human being, share this story. Let the world know that injustice cannot remain hidden forever. If you believe that courage can spread, leave a comment with one word: justice. Because every justice is a brick in the wall of fairness we are building together. And if you want to continue this journey, where stories that seem small can shake entire systems, subscribe to the channel. For there are many more journeys ahead, where justice will continue to speak. Naomi Carter closed a dark chapter and opened a new one filled with light. But the story does not belong only to her. It belongs to all of us, to those who believe the world will change when we choose silence no more. Justice is not something distant. It begins the moment you speak up. And sometimes a single voice is enough to change a room, even the world.